Here we are. It's Monday, April 19th. We're excited to have the league champion himself, Anthony, finally joining us for episode 7 of the Big Boys League podcast. So we're excited about this one. Quick introduction, of course, as always. I am Tyler. I got 12th place. Who else do we have on the call?
Anthony, you know me, number one.
You got Primo Carino here, Jeremy again. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Mr. Wheeling and Dealing over here. We're going to talk about that in a little
Get to
bit, but Jeremy literally pulling strings behind the scenes just minutes
that.
before this podcast started. I got to say, guys, like over the last 5 days or so, so we'll talk about all the trades. There's been 8 trades since the off season has started, which is exciting. So we've got a lot of movement going on after a little bit of a period of inactivity. I feel like the energy is high. It's an exciting time right now.
I mean, NFL draft's 10 days away, and people are making all these trades right before. And it's almost like if you don't get those first rounders, if you're waiting too long, if you're not active, you're going to miss out.
Yeah. And the podcast too. You guys have been doing a great job with it. Like, people are getting excited. They've said that everyone's checking the the sleeper app and everything. And as they're seeing the episodes are, they were kind of taking a break, and like it kind of gets you excited. Honestly, it's got to me super excited. So I know there's a lot of buzz going on in the league right now.
Yeah, I have enjoyed even this sounds really stupid or narcissistic, but I've enjoyed actually kind of going back and listening to some of the podcasts, even though I've been on all of them, just to be like, like what were we talking about? What were someone's thoughts? I can think of like one specifically where someone mentioned something about like, I think I was thinking about looking for this type of thing, and I think we talked about a trade and it didn't happen, but like it helps kind of start conversations when you kind of know what people are thinking about, like, is this a championship window for them? Are they thinking maybe it's rebuild time? Are there players they're targeting or players they're trying to move? I feel like it's just all welcomes those conversations, and so it just makes it a lot more fun. And at the end of the day, that's what the league is all about is having fun. But anyways, we're here, of course, to talk about Anthony's team and how he took home the inaugural championship in the very, very first season. And there's no better place to start than jumping right into his draft. So I'm going to bring that up really quick and see where he came from and how he got to where he was. So here are the draft results here. And I think before we even go into like how the draft went down, I know we're going to talk about Anthony, your trades and all that kind of stuff. That's a little bit down the road, but I think we do have to start off with the fact saying that before the draft even started, Anthony did pull off a huge, huge blockbuster trade with Johnny to kind of uh, basically start things before the draft even started. So tell us a little bit about that. I can bring up the exact details of the deal, but I think you probably remember the main pieces of it. Like, what was your approach heading into that, and how do you feel like that shaped the rest of your initial draft?
Yeah, so the way it began was I had the 103, Johnny had the 101, and there's a lot of top talent out there trying to build cornerstone pieces. So what did I want to do? I kind of wanted going into it a win now strategy. So I actually approached Johnny and was like, "Hey, I want your 101. What will it take to get me there? How do I get your 101?" And we were going back and forth, and then eventually he actually flipped it on me, and he's like, "Would you do this the other way around?" And I was like, "Hold on." Nope, I sure wouldn't. And then we started going back and forth again and eventually kind of landed where we were at. So I ended up giving up my 103 and just getting his second and third round picks and a couple other pieces. So I could then kind of build a core rather than the win now strategy going into it. I was like, you know what? Now that I have some mid round picks, I'm probably going to go instead of win now, more of a strong core, one that'll kind of be competitive now, but also endure and have a better bench. So, I'm not just relying on those top tier pieces that could potentially fall to injury and lose me the league and have a little more depth. So that was kind of my strategy going into the draft.
Got it. And I did bring up on the screen here, we were able to kind of look at a summary of it. I got to say, I think we probably finalized the league roster in terms of the managers that are in, who's participating. We got all those commitments, and we finally, of course, brought everybody into the Sleeper app. We're ready to go. We set the draft date. And I think a couple days afterwards was when this trade went down, and it was like, right off the bat, we're like, oh, here we go. Like, we're going big, like right off the start. Very exciting, very energizing. I think there was lots of people fired up, excited in good ways and also excited in bad ways. I like to kind of joke around with Anthony and others that you had somebody essentially kind of quit the league. If we remember Caleb, we play other fantasy football leagues with Caleb here and there as well that we're both in, but he's not in this one. And I like to joke around that Caleb essentially quit the league and likes to throw shade at us over how ridiculous it was. And I think this is honestly Exhibit A for what he was talking about. But to summarize, basically,
Tyler,
go ahead.
If Caleb heard also that Anthony won the league after having done this, you could just imagine how much he'd just flip his shit. But that's beside the point. I mean, I think it was fine that Anthony did the trade and stuff, but it would have been hilarious to hear Caleb's reaction.
Who else would you have picked though? Like you knew this was coming. Like you knew this was going to come from me. You knew I was going to do something spicy, something to make a little bit of controversy or let people think. I don't think there would have been anyone else in the league that would have done the route I went.
That's fair. Well, and certainly to the extent that you did, I've commented to you before in the past and to others. I kind of don't understand the magnitude that you choose to do a lot of these trades. Here, you essentially had, you ship out 3 and you acquire 6 draft picks. To me, that just doesn't resonate with me personally. I'm never thinking about like how can I get 9 players or 9 picks involved. And maybe this was because there were, of course, no players assigned to the rosters where it was this complicated. But to me, I would be way too nervous to do something like that with too many unknowns or just too many like players involved. Like if there's 1 or 2 players that I want to go get, like I'll try to shape the deal around something like that, but try to keep it manageable. To me personally, I just think this trade specifically, but a couple other ones that you've done, they're just too big for. I don't know. That's just my style, I guess.
No, you're absolutely right. Mine's on the other spectrum where I go big. Like mine's all combo trades. Like how do we balance this out to the most? Because like every one for one just never comes out even. And so we always do. What do we do to make this right? And how many pieces do we need to add to do so? And I think even in one league that I tried to flip my entire team for another team, and just it's really depending on who wants what and where. So yeah, I think I've only done big trades.
Yeah. It's true, and we'll jump into each of them here. But okay, so we set the stage where essentially you've traded away the 103 to acquire. You get the 20 whatever this is, the 210 and the 212. So you're going depth right away. Tell us about the rest of your draft here. Just kind of jump into it. You can see on the screen here it's highlighted the players that you were able to acquire. Tell the people that you were especially excited about. Maybe people I see already that you've traded away. Just kind of walk us through.
Yeah, so I mean, I went into a strategy is, number one, like cornerstone pieces. Who's going to represent my team for a long term? Who's really going to be there to carry my team year after year? My second thing was long-term value. Which positions were going to give me long-term value and add the most? Again, this is a dynasty league. We're not just playing for this year. Nothing's going to turn over right away. So I was instantly looking at QBs and wide receivers because we had 3 wide receivers rather than 2. And then, my third thing was just looking at the tight end
wide
value.
Receivers, my friend. You are preaching.
Oh yeah, you do
right
that blue
there.
streak.
I
yeah,
hear you.
We are of similar mind in that. And then, my third, criteria was just best available player. Initially, I thought I was going to go very young, get a couple rookies like you were. Like that was my goal actually going into this. And people started snatching up the rookies real quick. And, someone who may have done so and created that blue streak, I kind of adjusted in the moment and was just getting, again, the best available player that was coming to me. I typically don't draft based on feelings or a certain love. I may, on the opposite end, like OBJ, maybe not choose people that have wronged me in the past, but in terms of, best available player, that's kind of what I'm going for. So just to start it off, the DNA of my team that's going to give me the long-term value is QBs, right? We're in a super flex league. So I was going to kind of go with either Russell, Dak Prescott, or Deshaun Watson. I figured at that pick, those two would kind of be around. I figured Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson was going to be gone. And, Kyler Murray was kind of on my list as the last tier. He hadn't really, he was rookie to the year. He had an okay year, but hadn't really proven himself. So I wasn't too excited or hyped up on Kyler Murray. So I was fine with losing that. So then after I shored up my two QBs, I kind of went into wide receivers, right? I mean, I got Miles Sanders, best available player. He wasn't bad. He was young. He got hyped up a lot by a lot of analysis. So I felt good about that. Then got three wide receivers, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Allen Robinson. All very high performing wide receivers. Felt good about that too. And then
weird, Anthony, did you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
weird at all, like going? So I got why you went to QBs first, right? And super flex, like super valuable. But you went for your picks. You went back to back on like Atlanta Falcon like receivers. Like you took their top two receivers back to back. I mean, what was your thought process there? I mean, I'm usually one like I hate I get kind of nervous when I get multiple kind of top offensive players right from the same team, and I didn't know like what was your kind of thought process there. I mean, versus kind of going with a different person.
So, I mean, just based off of history, Matt Ryan has always been able to support like two wide receivers, either whether that was, wide receiver one and RB or wide receiver two. So I felt like if one team could do it, it could definitely be the Falcons. So I felt solid about Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley was up and coming. He was youth. He was young. He still hadn't proven himself, right? So I was picking Calvin Ridley thinking he could be the future. And Julio Jones was always a solid pick, even though he has injuries. He's always putting up wide receiver one numbers when he is healthy, so I was okay with it. And leading into this year, we'll get into it, but I did trade Calvin Ridley away because I kind of share that same sentiment. I wronged myself one year, and I think I had 3 Steelers and just ended up not panning out. But yeah, and then just like looking at the rest of my roster, like my RBs was definitely, again, looking at long-term depth, I was like, RBs, I'm not even going to try to get running backs. Like, this is what I'm going to sacrifice. If anything, this is where is going to be my low point. And RBs usually get injured a lot, right? And they also don't have a long tenure as any other position. So if anything, I'm going to sacrifice my RBs. I'm going to go down. It's fine. I'll just pick up some new rookie running backs who, again, the rookie running backs start instantly, right? They're the position that can really drive right from the get-go. You can put them in and they can perform. They can literally get RB1 numbers. Any other position, wide receiver, QB, tight end, it takes years to develop. So that was in the back of my mind of, my RB depth isn't really going to be there. But I picked up some later rounds that did help me perform. And then just looking at my best pick, Darren Waller. That man. He got me into the play. He kept me into the playoffs. I think he put like a near 50 point game, which helped me beat Lee, and he just continued to perform. So, and especially the round that I got him in, I think he was actually probably my MVP of my team.
Good value. It's good value. I mean, and with the tight end premium that we got, I mean, that was huge for you. I mean, you won the league, but yeah, I mean, had it not been for Darren Waller, you actually would have lost in the first round of the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
was
for
that
sure.
close. So I mean, that was yeah, I mean, this was probably my favorite pick that you had. Just how the year ended. I think as we found out how valuable tight ends were, that was huge. And you made another trade for a different tight end, George Kittle, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But I mean, it ended up being Darren Waller. Actually, that was like the more valuable tight end for you. So huge pick there.
Right.
I love that one.
Yeah. Building off that a little bit, so you mentioned Waller was probably your best pick of the draft, which I would agree. Is there a pick or two that you feel like, oh man, this was a miss? Either this player really didn't pan out, or they didn't pan out for how high I drafted them, or anyone specific come to mind for you on that?
I mean, it's that second RB, right? He's supposed to be my RB2, and Le'Veon Bell just underperformed on all cylinders, right? Like, I don't know if it's the Jets, if it's Matt Gase, if it's Bell. I mean, he went over to the Chiefs, so like Adam, I don't know, but he was a complete underperformer, and
Is all of the above. As someone who followed the career of Adam Gase very
Adam Gase,
carefully,
yeah.
Adam Gase, literally everyone that's involved with him is seemingly, it's just inexplicably, just turns to
He
absolute
ruins
garbage.
careers.
He absolutely
He
ruins
ruins
careers.
careers.
You know,
Yeah.
I literally feel bad for the Miami players that lost years and years of their career, and I'm glad to see someone like Tannehill do better elsewhere. And I don't know. I think the Jets, honestly, they really can only improve drastically. But it's a shame that I feel like Le'Veon Bell probably had a useful another year or two. But this is also a really good example of why it's so important for those running backs to. I think I've changed my opinion on earlier on. I thought that they were just being super greedy and drama queens about their contracts or whatever. And it's like, you know what? They really only have like one shot to be able to do that. And if you're a superstar like Bell was, I know we're not talking about Le'Veon Bell, we're talking about Anthony's team. But if you're a superstar like he is, or he was at the time, like you got to get your money because that is your only chance to be able to do that. So it's a bummer it didn't work out for him in New York.
Yeah, no, there's like Bell, Gurley, and Gordon at the time that were I was all considering. I'm like, which one of these three is going to perform the best? And I honestly thought Bell still had it in him. I thought just based on his running style and be able to kind of shift around, be patient and run, that he was going to be a better performer than the others. But yeah, we all saw how that went down. Did not work out.
Yeah. No buyer's remorse on Julio Jones. Couple picks before DK Metcalf or Jonathan Taylor or Josh Allen. You still feeling good about Julio Jones, or do you feel like that was a little bit of a whiff for early on in the third round?
I mean, yes and no. So like Julio Jones, like I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? Like had I know the younger bucks that are coming into it, they were all rookies, and so how are they going to perform? Are they going to be able to mold with the team? So I want someone that's a little more stable, a little more consistent, who's had wide receiver one numbers for a length of time. And I mean, if you looked at Julio Jones, like he still put up wide receiver one numbers. I mean, he's been injured. Yeah, that's a risk that every player has. But again, like I probably would have made the same. I mean, the only piece. Let's see, was that the late third round that it was turned? I wouldn't have got AJ Brown,
Early
right? I was
third.
like, he was definitely one person I was targeting,
You're
but I don't
early
think I would
third.
have
Yeah.
got him. Oh yeah, so I did miss out. AJ Brown was the only one that I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I wish I had gotten.
But you know what it is, Anthony? It doesn't shock me. Having played fantasy with for a number of years in multiple leagues, I know very well you have always loved Julio Jones. That's a fault. You got to admit that you've always loved Julio Jones. That's why you picked him at 3.
You know, I also have to say that every league I've won, I've had Julio Jones on my
Yeah,
team.
I
I'm
was just
just
gonna say.
saying.
I
I'm
was just
just
gonna say.
saying.
I was just gonna say. I think that's why more so when you pick Calvin Ridley afterwards, that surprised me more so. Like I think you picking Julio Jones wasn't the shocker. I think you picking Calvin Ridley opposite Julio Jones that shocked me more so. But yeah, you're absolutely right though. You've always had success. He's kind of been a little bit of your good luck charm and everything.
I was gonna
So
say if OBJ
yeah,
is the curse, Julio Jones
yeah,
is the good luck charm.
exactly.
I was
The magic
literally
foot.
gonna say,
I
what
was
would
just gonna
happen if
say.
somehow you had Julio
Yeah.
and OBJ on the same team? Would you win or would you go down in flames? Which charm is
Which
stronger?
one takes over the other?
Right.
Gosh.
It's hard to
Anthony would
say.
just he'd barely miss the playoffs. That's what would happen.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
true.
that's exactly what
First
would
round
happen.
exit, something like that. Something like
Yeah.
that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, eventful draft there. Moving on to the transactions, because where I think Anthony really did his work was the transactions, of course, pre-draft, but
It's
then
where it gets
also
spicy. This
also
is where Anthony
post-draft, because
stirs
Anthony
controversy.
did make a lot of moves. Well, he made 4. I guess it's not as many as I thought
No,
there.
I mean if you actually look at it, I looked at it in depth. I think it's only 2. I don't know
But
what
they
those
were
middle ones were.
massive. They were
They
absolutely
were
massive,
big
and of course
trades.
one of them doesn't count because this was just you and I, Anthony, before the draft started, trying to figure out how the trades worked in terms
Right,
of
right, right,
the
right.
labels. So this swap of second rounders doesn't count as a real trade here. So you made your pre-draft trade, and then you made your other big trade in the season. Again, like I said, a monumental trade, lots of players involved. Not dabbling or just going hard right away. So you trade away Deshaun Watson and Miles Sanders. So that was your uh, looks like your second round pick and your third round
My
pick. So
second and
back to
third
back.
overall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So huge players at the top of the draft. Trade those away. As well as Cole Kmet, who's on my team now. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
you acquired
Wait,
Jimmy Gar.
you have Miles Sanders too.
I do have Miles Sanders. It's just I'm just picking up
So Anthony traded
all
with
these
Anthony in
breadcrumbs.
there, or Tyler traded with Anthony indirectly. Then just
Not
Anthony
just barely
sloppy
dirty
seconds here.
seconds. He's got the thirds. He's got sloppy thirds.
Oh.
Oh, Tyler, how's that taste?
So
Uh,
you acquire, I'm optimistic about Miles Sanders, and Cole Kmet's going to be fantastic. Anyways, so you acquire Garoppolo, who has essentially been worthless, but the big ones obviously Tyreek Hill, George Kittle, and 2 future first rounders. To be honest, I thought this was pretty rough at the moment, and I think this is even more unforgivable now. Um, I don't understand. If you literally just look at Brandon's draft right here, Kittle was his first rounder and Tyreek was his second, and that was high for Kittle, but like maybe he should have gone somewhere near the end of the first. Tight end premium, hard to say. But then you get Tyreek Hill. So he's literally making the choice to trade his first 2 picks, which were both earlier
Rough.
than
It was
Deshaun
rough.
Watson and Miles Sanders, and he throws in Garoppolo and 2 first-round picks. Just that makes no sense whatsoever. Both of these guys went ahead of these guys. Why is Brandon paying the premium to trade down? It makes no sense to me. And Anthony, I really need to know, like, what sort of deal on the side
Explain
did you make
yourself,
Brandon
sir.
to do? Explain yourself, because this is ridiculous. How did this go down? And this is what ruined. Okay, I don't want to say ruins. This is what I think is such a challenge moving forward, because you've not only won the league this first year, obviously, but you remain so strong because you have these future assets. And Brandon is a pretty depleted team. These are going to be really, really good picks. This already is a really, really good pick. This I guess this is not this year's particular one, but like
No, this is
it's
yours,
the
yeah.
it's this is that this year's? I don't think it
Ti-
is. I think it's
No,
20.
it's not this year's. No,
It's
it's
not
future.
this year's.
2022 and
Somehow
2023.
you got another one of his picks, right? In a separate deal, right? But this
Yeah,
is
that's the Johnny,
exactly
though.
this is exhibit. Yeah, it was a Johnny deal or whatever. This is
Yeah.
exhibit A for why you really need to value these first round picks, because like you have the 5th round pick right now after you won the league, that's probably going to be an extremely valuable player depending on who falls there. There's a range of like 3 to 6 really, really good players that's going to be. Explain yourself.
Well, first, I just like to back up and just say thank you for, you appreciate how great my greatness, and you had just mentioned it. And previously, you had talked about how poor my team
Oh
was and how
god.
bad it was.
It was your draft. I
So,
think you drafted poorly, but you made up for it and then some.
okay, well, if you're gonna bring up that and those naysayers out there, Sam, I'm gonna get off on a tangent real quick. Thought it was, I thought it was interesting that you guys said that, because expert consensus rankings ranked my draft 100 out of 100, give me the number 1 score overall, and rated you, Tyler, 69 out of 100, the worst ranking, being correct. And so if the last place manager, you yourself, and the contender to the toilet bowl want to talk trash about my draft, you know what I would tell them, Tyler? Thank you. Thank you for not seeing value. I genuinely get excited because they clearly don't know promising talent. If it hit them in the face, probably couldn't tell the difference between a stallion and a donkey. So I'm excited. Okay, back to this trade now. Before let me address your questions, naysayers.
Oh my.
All right. So I mean,
Everybody
my
listen to the champ putting the rest of the league on notice, saying he's not going anywhere. That's what that was. For anyone when they listen to this podcast, Anthony's just like, y'all think I'm gonna suck ass this year, but guess what? I'm a repeat. That's what Anthony just said. I
I'm
love
getting
it.
that Empire
I
pot.
love
I'm
it.
getting that
I
Empire
love
pot.
it. You know what? I'd rather you get the Empire pot this year when there's less money in it
I know. I thought
versus.
about that.
So you know what? Like that's fine. You know what? But at the same time, I don't know if I can stand Anthony being not only the winner of the league in the first year, but then on top of that, becoming the first repeat champion in literally only the second year of the league. So,
And it
but
only
anyway.
takes me one more to get it again.
Oh god.
So,
Oh god. Anyway.
right?
Anyway, Anthony. Back to we digress. Back to this
We
trade.
digress.
Back to
Yeah,
this
back to this
trade.
trade. So I think a couple things that happened here. I mean, first of all, these are everyone's first year in the Dynasty League, so I don't think anyone
Mhm.
understood either. Some people, I think it was a complete different spectrums. Some people didn't want to trade at all. They didn't realize the value of them and didn't want to sacrifice anything, if it was valuable more, later on. And then Brandon, who, clearly even said on his previous podcast that he just didn't value them at all. First round picks, future round picks, he wanted to win now kind of thing. So I think, with the whole, if you look at it like team for team, right? If you went Deshaun Watson, Miles Sanders, and Cole Kmet, and you put their points value strictly against this last year, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tyreek Hill, and George Kittle, I guarantee you, I haven't looked it up, I guarantee you those 3 that I traded away put up more points than the 3 I got. And I guarantee you also that I probably would have won regardless. Yeah, I would have won stronger had I kept those 3. But I think a lot of people talked about, giving up George Kittle in that first round or taking him in the first round, first pick overall. I think that may have gotten to Brandon. I'm not going to speak on his behalf too much, but maybe a little buyer's remorse and want to get a top QB.
I see. I don't understand that in the sense that if you feel like if people come after you because they say you took Kittle way too high, I would hear that feedback and I would maybe I would have a little bit of buyer's remorse. But to be honest, that wouldn't inspire me to trade that player. I would honestly say like, you think so? Like, let me show you why I drafted him this high because he has this value. I don't know. I think I would go the other direction on that one, as opposed to like, you're right, he's garbage. I should just trade him away. Like, no, no, no. He was just a little bit too high for 104, 105, whatever he got drafted at. Doesn't mean he's garbage. It was just a little bit of a reach. And I don't even necessarily know that it was a reach, considering that we do have a tight end premium league.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it. He was coming off that monster season. He did get hurt, and I think that but we didn't know that at the time. He wasn't hurt when this trade was made. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. We can dwell on
Yeah.
this one for a really, really long time if we wanted to, but I think the moral of the story for anyone listening to this is I do think there's a certain level of value that you need to be willing to assign these first round picks, and depending on whether or not you think you have a window, over the next year or two, or you're possibly building something for the future. I don't know. I think just tossing in a first
I
round
don't think
pick,
I'll
let
pull off
alone
a
a
trade
future
like this
first
ever
round pick.
again. I
Yeah.
think
I
we can
think
see the value in the last couple of weeks of just like how much people are seeing these rookies, or maybe they're hyped up. I'm not sure because of COVID or whatnot, right? They didn't have the Columbine, but their pro days look a lot more appealing. So I don't know. We'll see.
Mhm.
I think the big thing that you were saying, Tyler, is with the first rounders and just the value. I think when I look at Anthony, like I actually was okay for the most part with it. I think where I felt like it went kind of over the top, where you really kind of came away and really won this trade by a good margin, was that second first rounder that got thrown in. I think if it was just at the one first rounder, I could some because Garoppolo's garbage, right? He made that guy is going to be out of a starting job potentially here after this season, if not during the season, right?
Right.
Or even by the time the draft comes. So again, when you're looking at hindsight, again, I don't think it's as lopsided as we thought. I think at the time, in a vacuum, it looked like that. For me, I think it was if Brandon just had one less first rounder in there, I think it'd be a little bit better. It was just the fact that it was two, but again, it was kind of hard. I think a lot of people, um, again, didn't know the value of that. But at the same time, and Tyler, that's kind of just been Anthony's MO, right? He swings for the fences, like when there's kind of the least known factors. But I mean, it's a risk on both parts, and anyone that does business with the regulator here. So
I think this is
I
why
mean,
Anthony and I
the
have
funny
never
thing
made a
is
deal
like
because
this
we live
deal
in
in
different
itself.
universes. That's
This
the
this
problem.
deal in itself didn't even get that much traction. I don't think anyone said very much about it. I think Tyler actually at that time. You agreed on Brandon's side and said, "Ooh, Anthony, you're giving up a lot of assets." And then no one else really had any other comments. It was my first trade that had a little more, issue that people had issues with or whatnot. So
Oh,
I don't
you
I
have
know.
mean,
fireworks on both of them. I don't remember necessarily making the comments, to be honest. I hope that I would have the foresight to see this, but to me, I think that the biggest thing is just literally the fact that Kittle and Tyreek were just straight up drafted ahead of these people, and he's paying and I think this was like week like 3 or 4 of the season. Like, okay, I'm gonna pay a two first round premium to move down in the players I could have just drafted in the first place. That's just I don't know. We don't want to dwell on
Deshaun,
this for forever. It's just a tough one.
yeah, that was a big one though.
Anyways, so those were your trades during the season. Any interesting free agent stuff? There were 24 free agent ads and drops and stuff. I scrolled through them really quick and I didn't see anything that was particularly interesting. No players that I'm even 100% sure are even still on your roster.
I
Scrolling
mean,
through.
Jordan Reed, I was a little sad about because he got traded later on for some premium quality. Devontae Freeman, he helped me out during the injury. There was a couple picks. I know I paid for Ty Johnson, and he got some points, a couple games. So there's a couple players I did pick up that ended up helping me at some point during the year due to injuries and bye weeks and all that. But there's no one that's too. I mean, Adam Troutman, probably one of my best pickups. Is he's right now the tight end one for the Saints. So
I don't see him on this list. Why is he not on this list? Strange.
I didn't pay for him. I think he's. Are you on the free agent? Or did I
I'm
pay for
free
him? I may have
agents.
paid. I may have been on
Oh, maybe it
waivers.
was
Yeah,
waivers.
right there.
Oh, this is
There
weird
he
because
is.
if I click on it, It
There
shows
it is.
0 until I click on it. Oh, so the waivers are the more interesting ones. These are the people that you would have put up money for. So, yeah, you're right. Dan Arnold. I kept wanting to add Dan Arnold like back and forth because they said he had good chemistry with Kyler Murray, and it just never really happened. But yeah,
I think I still
Adam
have Dan
Troutman.
Arnold. He got traded too, so potential future.
He eventually
We'll
did.
see.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, um, kind of moving on here to the season recap. So obviously where are we here? Anthony won the league. So he entered the postseason as the 3 seed. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Because I was fighting. I was consistently looking at the points, trying to get one of those top 2 seeds so I can get a bye week, but it did not happen.
Yep. So you entered. It looks like the second highest scoring team in the league. So 1829, just behind Jasper there. And then the number 1 seed was Aaron because he just had a better or possibly more fortunate record, I would say. So your first
Not by
round
much
matchup
though.
was against Lee, and you beat him just barely by 2 points. That was the matchup we were talking about, right? Where it was Darren Waller just going off, basically saving your skin in that first round.
Absolutely, yeah. I was actually more. I think I think you and I had a conversation about this. Is like, where does that 6 person go? Because they just had the highest points, potentially out of the bottom 7. What? Yeah, 7 people. Because yeah. So they could potentially be a lot more potent in the playoffs than that person who got 5th place, who's going against the 4th person. So I was a little worried about that, but there's some back and forth. It ended up progressing, in my favor, which I appreciated. But yeah, Lee was definitely some good talent. He had David Montgomery that was going off at the time, and got me sweating.
hmm A reminder as well, Lee got into the playoffs because we have a special rule in the league where essentially the sixth place team, the team that makes it into that playoff spot, uh, is whoever scores the highest regular season point total among essentially the bottom 7 teams. So if you did have a very, very unlucky schedule, and just got screwed like week after week, but you were putting up basically playoff caliber levels of points, which is literally exactly what Lee had. You can skip above everybody else and you can take that slot. And strangely enough, he took that slot directly from you, Jeremy, as I'm sure you remember.
Oh yeah. No, I remember. But you know what? It's fine because I think my team was hobbling, and if I did make that, Anthony would have just kicked my ass anyway.
He would have
So
just kicked your ass, and the silver lining to this is you just made the lottery instead, and you were able to get a higher draft pick. So
yeah.
at the end of the
So
day,
what?
it kind of worked out for you.
It worked out. It worked. It was way better. I'd rather do that than Anthony having crushed me in the first round, and I would have gotten crappier draft positioning. So
Right. In the second
I mean,
round, Anthony. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I was saying one of my favorite moments was when I was going against Johan towards the end, and the first round of the championship, he had made a comment and was like, do we get a trophy for anyone getting the highest amount of points? Because he's kind of leading the way, and then my team just took off and like beat him by like 3 points. I think I got the highest in the season at like 202.9 or something like that. But it was definitely a battle of titans on the last
that
couple games.
that
Yeah.
was one heck of a championship. I mean, it was a fun like inaugural championship to watch. I know everyone in the league was looking, and we're just like, oh my god, like how are these teams just putting this up? Do these NFL players know that in actual like our lives that this is fantasy championship week because they're representing putting up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys went straight to it. Anthony did beat Jasper by a fairly wide margin in the second round there, and then the same kind of thing for Johan. He had beat Aaron by a fairly wide margin there, and then it was just absolute haymakers in the championship final. I really did feel watching that, and it was a 2-week final, of course. I was like, the correct 2 teams are in this
Oh
year
yeah,
in the finals
absolutely,
for our league at that
absolutely.
time. So yeah, congratulations. You win the first year's trophy. You win the money. You get your name on the trophy, which you have. Anthony, where is that trophy, by the way? Is it in your house? Are you looking at it right now?
Oh yeah, that's right above my fireplace mantle. My wife kind of didn't want it there, but it's in a great place. And Johnny even mentioned he comes over and looks at it and gets to admire the awesomeness that it is.
There you go. There you go.
Sounds like a good spot. Sounds like a good spot to have it. I'd
Oh,
like to
no.
stare at that every day too.
I've got different league, but I've got the LC League trophy. I just received that from Chris in the mail earlier this last week, and it's broken. The stupid thing came loose, and I need to like send it back to the trophy shop. I was like, Chris, did this happen in transit? Was it like this for you? And he's like, No, man, that happened in the mail. I'm like, Uh-huh, interesting.
Chris is just mad that you just had to send it away to you, Tyler.
I guess so. I'm just
You know
just
why?
happy to be part of the
You know why
championship
Chris
sort of.
broke it? Chris broke it because you ripped him off with a first round pick for Antonio Brown. So
Mhm.
I was gonna say when
you
I was
know,
looking at Anthony's free agent picks, I noticed he didn't trade any of those players he acquired for a first round pick. So advantage Tyler there.
Oh, there's more to come. It's just the first year. Oh, by the way, just saying, my old man, David Johnson, man, he won me that final. He got 24 points in the first week and he got like 30 something in the
uh,
second. Old man David Johnson still got it. So anyone wants a
Absolutely.
first round pick,
put,
come at me.
puts up numbers when it matters most. No, Anthony, no one's gonna trade. God, I think you've thrown that out to everybody. David Johnson for a first rounder
29 points in week 16. Just saying. Just saying. He comes through.
when
All
it
right.
matters most.
Well, moving on a bit here, Anthony, I had to ask something a little special for you here. As anyone who listened to the previous podcast about my team heard some unforgivable slander and just lots of things I really need to get like a lawsuit in order for defamation and just absolute atrocities were committed against me and my team that I just couldn't believe. I feel like I need to send a little bit of that your way here, so I put together this slide talking about revenge, and of course modeled it after one of our favorite shows, Game of Thrones. So I've got some great quotes here. I think I'll only talk about the one for Tyrion. I will hurt you for this. A day will come when you think you are safe and happy, and your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth, and you will know the debt is paid. Hopefully you don't have to wait that long. Hopefully that's just right now, because I can share some special stuff with you here. So I went to. I figured I would go straight to the source here. Of
Is
course.
this stalking at this point? Do I need to be worried? Do I need to be concerned?
Hey, I'm only returning the favor. I feel like you went out of your way to.
You went after his blood,
You went.
You
Tyler.
coming for my family?
You
went
also
after his
you
blood.
went after the last place team in the league, which I feel like is also a form of like cyberbullying at
Bullying.
best. Cyberbullying at best. I felt cyberbullied. Here it is, the champion kicking on the 12th place team. At the
I mean,
very
are
least,
you last if you chose to be last though?
Oh, that's
Like
true.
have
Touche.
to.
you won. You won the title of being last and tanking. Like you're now tanking Tyler forever.
Talk to
Like
the
you earned
guy.
that.
Talk to the guy
Tanking
who
Tyler.
ripped Dak Prescott's
Tanking
ankle in
Tyler.
half. If Dak would have been available, I would have went straight to the championship. I'm just letting you know. Just letting you know. Anyways, I had to check in with Johan and Christian. Johan is in the league. Christian sadly is not in the league. Just on some deep dark secrets of Anthony's. Maybe reveal some weaknesses. Maybe some history on why Anthony is the way that he is. And just see what they said. So I was able to send them some messages. One of the first questions that I asked them was Anthony. Oh man, I've got a typo right here in my deck. Unbelievable. Was Anthony always the schemer and manipulator that he is today? Uh, Johan had to say, no, I don't think he was a good schemer when we were younger. I think that came with time and experience. So I suppose we could say you have a long history of gaining experience in manipulation and scheming. Do you have any thoughts on that, Anthony?
I mean, first of all, if we're talking about slander, this is prime right here. Like you're definitely going into it. I'd like proof of this. How do I know that you're not just making these things up? Because my sweet young brother would never say these things about me. So,
Oh, I'll send you the
I
receipts, my
I
friend.
doubt that there's any truth behind this. But go ahead, continue, my friend.
All right. Has Anthony always been confident, overconfident, arrogant, or all of the above? I think anyone who spent some time around Anthony kind of feels this in his presence. Johan had to say the overconfidence came with time. When you win, people talk about it or talk about him. I feel like it boosts his ego. I I get that sometimes, which leads to being a better manipulator. Uh, so it sounds like he's just kind of talking. It's all about ego, and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. What's the source of Anthony's competitive spirit? Let's see here. Christian had a good one about this, and I'm going to bring that up.
So are
Christian
you
said,
are you selecting just the the spiciest responses from these guys?
I'm going back and forth a little bit.
Okay, okay.
Christian's whole comment was basically just this. So this answers a couple of questions here. Christian says, I was quote, I was the mean one as a kid. I would exploit his weaknesses because he was always slower than me. So I would sneak up on him and smack him in the back of the head and run away laughing, knowing Anthony would never catch me. In a competitive environment, Anthony won't accept a challenge unless he thinks he can win. You have to lead him down the rabbit hole far enough so that he doesn't have an option to go back, which I think is very interesting. You know, there's that big brother aspect of, you know, the little brother is always going to have a little bit of a disadvantage because big brother most of the time is just bigger. And Anthony, of course, is a pretty big guy himself, but
Anthony's
as
bigger than Christian.
he is
Yeah,
now. But was that always the case,
No,
Anthony?
that's true.
I mean, this was always the case. Actually, that Tyrion remark quote is, I think, is great because you kind of just like, I already had fire in me, but so this is how long I can hold grudges. Just so you know, is that Christian? He is absolutely right. Was always quicker, agile, faster than me. I would never catch him. I knew I couldn't. And I was a much bigger kid. I was taller than him. I weighed more than him. So knowing me and my advantages, catch him in a corner, put him in a corner where he couldn't go anywhere, and I could just, use my strength to its advantage, where I did not need to chase him and pin him to the ground and do what I needed to do. So again, you just gotta wait for the right time. That's it. You got to take your strategies and your advantages and make the most of them.
I hear that. I appreciate that. That's already building off of the schemer and manipulator. You know, if the environment is not conducive, if you can't catch this person, then you need to trap them. So,
All right, these schemer and manipulator terms are pretty crude. I'd like to think more of a strategist and
Tactician.
exactly tactician.
were you
I
not
mean, when
in
it
on
comes
our
to board games,
conversation where we were reviewing the trade that you pulled off with Brandon and then with Johnny? I feel like schemer and manipulator are the correct adjectives.
I mean, tactician, I mean, charm, charisma, it really, wink, nod, smile should be in there.
All of
Yeah.
the
Oh,
above.
I got a
mean,
good one for you. The chess grandmaster, Anthony. That's another way that you like to look at it as. Huh?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
You're always thinking 5 steps ahead. Like,
That's
yeah,
fair.
I don't think these titles are correct, but okay,
Okay.
Tyler, it's okay.
All right. What is a example of Anthony's treachery? This one I especially appreciated. This comment came from Johan. Anthony says, when we first started playing Diablo on PC, online gaming was still new at the time, so there were plenty of ways to hack to become the best, and that's what we did. Anthony had bots going for us while we were at school, and hacks the whole map, which led us to be better, and as brothers we always wanted to be better than other people. So I think from over the years, it kind of stemmed into how it is now. So from an early age, Anthony is looking for an edge, literally going against Blizzard's terms of service and hacking Diablo. What do you have to say for yourself?
I mean, is it a hack just doing research and learning coding as a young adolescent, trying to further, my personal knowledge, and something at the time wasn't even, relevant really. There wasn't no Amazon, there wasn't any Google at the time. So it's like, how do I make the most of the technology available to just further my own education?
All right. All right. Spoken like a true sociopath, I think. Well played. Well played. And last but not least, what was Anthony's greatest weakness? You know, Johan didn't necessarily answer this per se, but I think Christian definitely did in his comment of that you won't accept a challenge if you don't think you can win. That does resonate with me when you said you were thinking about quitting the LC League because it just wasn't working out for you. Where you've had success in other leagues like the Boss League and this one you obviously win the championship, you're just not feeling it in the LC League. And I kind of feel like that's because you haven't been able to win or even have you even made the playoffs in the 3 years that you've been in there? Because Jeremy's got second twice, and I've won the league, but it's not really working out for you. Is that kind of why you want to quit? Is that like
No,
tied into this?
not necessarily. So, the reason I play fantasy and the reason I play video games in general is all about friendships and connections. Like, I would not play any of the video games or any of the games today, board games, had it not been with the bonds I create and the people that I talk to and just the overall company that I enjoy. And the LC League is made up of a lot of, it's literally what Lincoln City League, right? That's all your friends, all your family, stuff like that. Jeremy and I were just added. So, Jeremy and you and Jasper are kind of the only people I really know. And I've I am very active in Dynasty, or not Dynasty, in fantasy football in general. And I'm always communicating. I literally offer a trade to every single person all the time, no matter what league I'm in. I'm always trying to, like, what can I do? How can I change my strategy? What is it that I need for my team? And that league is just inactive. Like anything that I do or say or anything like that. And then they go and like trade someone else that they know or someone that they're friends with or something. And I'm just like, my trade, like I could literally put it on a piece of paper and people would have been like, this trade is a lot better than the one they had taken. And so it's just like the inactivity in there and just the amount that people just don't communicate, or the bond I just don't have with any of them, maybe could be it too. But I just don't feel the connection I do is the other leagues.
That's
I'm
fair.
glad you asked.
That's fair. I don't necessarily 100% disagree on any of those things. I do think it's a little bit of a different style, and you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to disagree on any of those. It's a lot less active than the boss or than the big boys league, but
I'll literally send them texts and nothing, literally not even like acknowledging it at all. It's just like, well,
maybe they're
okay.
just not the easy marks that some of the people in the big boys league are.
Yeah.
Not singling anyone out specifically. Johnny, something like that. Anyways, thanks for playing along. Have to thank Johan and Christian for their participation. I really appreciate that. Moving on to the upcoming rookie draft. I have the current pick order up here, or at least the first 4 rounds of it. Although I don't think there are any trades in the 5th or 6th round just yet. And this is already out of date because we have some pending trades going on right now. But here's a quick look at it, Anthony. It looks like, of course, you had won the championship, so you're sitting pretty at the 12th pick for your own pick. But as we said, you do have Brandon's pick, so you've got the 5th pick and the 12th pick in the first round. Tell us a little bit about the draft. You don't have to necessarily say like a specific player in mind or anything, but what are your thoughts about all the trades that have been happening? Maybe thinking, do you have any ideas on like who people might be targeting? Like, what are your general thoughts on what's going on?
I mean, in a nutshell, I think the first several picks are kind of obvious on what people are going to pick. I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be 3 QBs right off the board. I think, you're going to go Trevor Lawrence. I think Brandon's going to go Zach Wilson. Jeremy will probably pick whoever's left, kind of. Go 3 QBs off the board. And then who got the 1-4? Was it
Jeremy just got
Jeremy
it,
again,
so
right?
he's got 3 and 4, yeah.
So my guess is Jeremy's either going to go Jamar Chase, get wide receiver for depth and length. I mean, he was behind Justin Jefferson, right? Like ahead of, Justin Jefferson, who just went off. So he's a great aspect depending on what team he goes to, or maybe he'll get Najee Harris, again, another great running back that's coming out, and depending on what team he lands on. He has Kyle Pitts, who, again, a great tight end. So I think those kind of be the top 4. The 4th one will be kind of a swing. And going to me, it's, who's the best available player. I think I don't necessarily need any additional QB depth, so I'll probably be targeting one of those 3, going from there. And after that, it really depends on who's getting what. I think I don't think if you look at the rosters, it's pretty telling on what people will pick. So I think I could get the 1-1 to the 112 nearly pretty accurate.
Not bad. What do you think,
Anthony,
Jeremy?
Anthony's got a really interesting strategy though, right? And this is kind of always the big thing with like anyone that's in the fantasy, right? Do you draft by best available or do you draft by need, right? And I think that's something Anthony's always kind of gambled on it, and I've always seen it. And kind of when you talked about your draft, right, Anthony, it seems like you just always go for best available, right? Because it seems like your strategy has been best available is just going to give you the best long term value, regardless if you plug a hole in there or not. Because the other thing is, right, like you would assume that if Najee Harris isn't going to be there, I would assume that you'd probably want to target a running back, because I feel like that's probably like your biggest area of opportunity in terms of kind of like your weakest area of like starters. But I mean, from what you said though, you didn't name a single running back there after Najee Harris, right? Who you're assuming is not going to be there at 5. So, really interesting take. I mean, it's a good strategy though, but I think that's one that I think everyone in the league is going to kind of have to like wrestle with a little bit, especially when you're kind of looking at these top picks, right? Like, do you go off of what you need, or do you go with kind of who's just the best available player there? So interesting strategy, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's ETN who's been rated high, and Javonte
Right,
Williams
right.
and whatnot. So
Yep.
there are a couple other RBs that are highly rated. But yeah, I obviously do need RB, but again, it doesn't necessarily mean what I'm going to pick right off the get go.
something that's kind of broken my heart since I traded away that second overall pick. So I've had the first pick and I've pretty much settled on Lawrence there. But when I had the second pick, I was really enjoying learning all about the draft because I basically the rest of the whole player roster was available to me. It could be Chase, it could be Harris, it could be another one of the QBs, it could be Pitts. Who knows who that's going to be? I felt like I had the whole world was my oyster and I could choose any single one of them. And when I traded it away, I lost all of that, and so I lost all of my fun. But it's going to be a lot of fun to see what kind of happens in that top five because it's going to be a lot of action. And there's still good value at 6 and 7 and even 8, 9, 10. Honestly, that whole first round is really, really strong. So it'll just kind of be interesting to see what happens there.
I mean, I think it falls off a little bit at the 112, my last pick, but that's okay. I got the 105.
Yeah,
but those you guys are right though. Those first that first 10 picks or so. I mean, there's a lot of really good players there, and it's kind of one of those things. I feel like it's a super deep draft, so it's just like if you don't necessarily get a player that you want or that you need to kind of fill a need, like you're gonna have a good player. I feel so. Again, kind of importance of those value picks and everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, with 5 relevant QBs, right? Like we didn't talk about Mac Jones or Trey Lance, but they're contenders as well. And especially, if Mac Jones goes to Niners, I don't know if that's just hype or whatnot from the media, but they're still relevant. I mean, they even mentioned the Patriots potentially taking Mac Jones, that he's Brady-like, right? The player that they're used to, that can analyze a field and, passes rather than uses his legs. So with, 110 through, I mean, the 101 to the 112, I think I would be surprised if one of those top 5 QBs slipped to the second round.
I don't know, Anthony. I think it might be the year, though. I mean, it's so deep at QB this year, right? The fact that, the top 3 picks, I mean, it's looking like could be very much QBs, but the fact that these other QBs who have a lot of potential and so equally hyped could be available to some of the these fantasy owners in the second round, like that can actually happen this year. Like that's how deep this draft is. So, I mean, it'll be exciting to see.
it will be interesting that I feel as though, not to call anyone out specifically, but I will say that there are specific managers near the second half of the draft. We're talking Lee, Chris, Jasper, Aaron, Johan. There's teams in there that I think are pretty desperate for a QB, especially Aaron. And it surprises me looking at what we know about the draft and whether this is Fields or Wilson or whatever. Like people have been making moves to go get those picks, and I would think I feel like that's a missed opportunity for Aaron. I feel like if Aaron was dialed in, he should have been.
I think
My headset keeps dying. Sorry about that. I'm back. It just keeps cutting out. Apologies.
You're basically
Passion
just
Aaron.
saying, Aaron, if you get a chance to listen to this, that Aaron doesn't listen to any fantasy football stuff, and then you cut out it.
He's just blowing it. He's just
That's what I
blowing it.
heard.
He's not dialed in. Aaron should be making mad offers for one of these top, 5 or 6 picks or something to be getting one of those QBs. And I'm gonna guess he's not gonna do it because he's a potato. But that's fine. That's fine. Moving on a little bit, Anthony, who are you thinking are going to be? Just name name 3 teams that you think are going to make a real deep run in the playoffs this year in our league.
Other than myself, I'm gonna put myself as one of them for sure. I got some good assets, picking up Mahomes or whatnot. We're gonna look into the trades, but Jasper, I think he has an underrated team in terms of if people skipped him over or not. But he was plagued by injuries, but he is so well rounded. Like that guy, I can't anytime he drafts, doesn't matter what league it is, it's like he just makes the best decisions. I swear, like his players still continue to put up numbers. I think, again, all the Cowboys back and healthy with Dak. He's got Amari Cooper and Zeke. I think he's got a lot of bounce back candidates. I think he's going to be a real good contender, as long as his team stays healthy. Sam just made some crucial trades. I mean, he's building on what he was lacking, right? Like wide receiver depth. He's huge. He's got probably the best running back core. And so to add the wide receiver depth that he's in need, getting a wide receiver 1 is huge for him. I think he's still lacking in some QB depth. TJ Hawkinson, we'll see. Depending on his tight end, he may or may not perform. They don't really have a great QB, so that's going to inhibit him a little bit. But I do think those will probably be the top 3 going into this year.
Anyone you think is going to be in the absolute dumpster?
The only pretender is really tanking Tyler, who still claims to this day that he didn't tank. That's the true pretender.
Is this sticking? Tank and Tyler, is that where we're gonna go by now? Like, Tyler, I think you got it. You got to make the playoffs this year, man. Win, otherwise I think this Tank and Tyler
I'm
nickname
gonna
is
win
gonna
this
stick.
year. I legitimately have the best. Okay, first of all, you signal out Sam for having the best running back crew. I think I have the best running back crew. Saquon and Jonathan Taylor is stronger than Kamara and Chubb, in my humble opinion. As long as
You
Saquon is
you
healthy.
you, you got to take a look at the rest of Sam's. Sam's got depth though at running back, whereas you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Sam's
I've
got
got Miles
depth at running
Sanders
back.
on my bench. He's probably not going to be on my bench. He's going to be like my flex running back or
He's got.
subbing
I
in.
mean, no.
Chase Edmonds maybe.
He's got J.K. Dobbins. He's got Chase
Yep.
Edmonds. He's
Yep.
got Devin Singletary. So I mean, he's got like
Sam does have a strong team. Don't get me wrong. Sam is a playoff team,
Sam's got
100%.
yeah. Sam's got depth.
Sam's RB3 and 4 can take out my RB1 and 2. I'm just saying.
I will say, regardless of who individually it ends up being or whatever, I think that it's nice to see a little bit of the parity in the league, and it's nice to see people
Yep.
basically like, adding to the arsenal, going out and getting DeAndre Hopkins and going out and getting, even like my own trade, like Saquon Barkley. It's like those are win now moves. I don't necessarily know 100% that that was the move that I was trying to make when I made it, but moves that are improving your team and helping you to make a run potentially. So it's exciting. There's a lot of
That actually surprised
parity.
me that you got some of the win now pieces rather than going more younger and going for the future.
I will say that any player is always available for the right price. Somebody wants to make me an offer for Saquon, he's available, and you know, he's out there. Just saying, just saying. Okay, moving on here. We're gonna wrap this up in the next 10 minutes or so. Uh, as we've talked about, there's been a lot of trades. To be precise, there's been 8 trades since the new league year started, probably just a couple of months ago. And what we've done here on the screen, if anyone's watching on YouTube, we've put up all of our trades, and we will comment on these, first take, hot take style. And the only thing that we're going to make as a caveat is that if you're involved in the trade, so Anthony, if you're involved in this specific trade, you're not going to be one of the ones talking about the trade. It's going to be either myself or Jeremy, and vice versa. If it's one of my trades, I'm not going to be talking about it. And the only thing we're going to be saying is basically very, very quick initial impressions, who we think won the trade. Stay away from whether or not we think it's even or not. Who specifically won the trade? You got to take a side, and we'll start with the first one. I'm going to jump right into this. So
Go ahead.
I'll go to Anthony's first trade. So Anthony acquires Patrick Mahomes, a 2021 first, and a second rounder, and he sends Johnny Calvin Ridley, 2022 first, and a 2021 first. So it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, you guys swapped. Oh, yeah, that was where you acquired the 5th pick, right? That was where you
Yeah,
acquired the 5th
I
pick
gave
from
up the
Brandon.
102 for the 105.
So you had the 102. It was Johnny's pick.
Correct.
So
Yep. Yep.
so you traded back 3, and you swapped Ridley and Mahomes, and you picked up an additional, and then you sent away a first for another second. So here's the thing: if you put this into one of these trade calculators, and for people out there doing these trades, I hope you guys do enough research to know that these trade calculators exist, and you can actually do some research to kind of figure out what some of these intangible assets potentially might be worth. I think some people might be operating without this level of knowledge and insight, but just throwing that out there. If you put this into the trade calculator, this is actually not that bad of a trade. It's pretty equal. It's within a couple of points here or there. However, I think what makes this really, really poor is the fact that Johnny literally gave Anthony his biggest weakness and opportunity at the moment was this second quarterback spot. I don't remember who he had before. It was like nobody.
Garoppolo.
It was nobody, right? So he had this absolute gaping hole in his roster, and he gives the team that just won the championship Mahomes, basically the consensus number 1 quarterback, who's still super young. Mahomes is probably, unless he trades him, has a chance to be a top performer on Anthony's team for like a decade plus. Yeah, Johnny gets Calvin Ridley and he gets, a higher pick and all this good stuff or whatever. Absolute miss. Slam dunk for Anthony. This was huge. This honestly gives Anthony a really strong chance to win the next, couple of years, if not even longer. And yeah, the price was pretty high, but to be honest, not high enough. When teams do this in the NBA or other leagues, and you go for one of these championship trades, like the Nets getting James Harden, for example, it's a huge, huge upgrade, but you mortgage your entire future for it. That's what I think Anthony should have had to do to get someone like Mahomes to fix a hole on his roster like that, but that's not what Johnny made him do. And so Johnny may have improved his team if he really thinks, that's what he did, but he also made an absolute behemoth of an opponent. So he's doomed himself to never having a chance in the league for the next 10 years. So slam dunk, Anthony wins this trade. Moving on to the second trade, either Anthony or Jeremy can take this one.
So actually looking at that too, I agree with the first one. That Johnny lost that one. I'm sorry. I'm looking at this next one. I think Johnny lost this one as well because that same number two pick, that he had, he would have had a good quarterback there, but Johnny's been on the record saying that he believes in proven talent, so he traded that away, to get Dak Prescott, who's coming off of, injury and everything. I think he'll bounce back nicely, but he gave away two first rounders for that, and one of them being the one he just acquired, and he had Pat Mahomes, as well. So I'm gonna go with this one again. I think that Tyler won this trade. Sorry, Johnny. I'm giving you over two on these two trades.
All right. You want to take this next one, Anthony?
Yeah. So Zach went to Jeremy. He got Stephon Diggs and a second round pick, 2021. And then Jeremy got Devontae Parker, Rob Gronkowski, 2021 first round, 2021 second round.
So that
I don't really
2021 first, by the way,
see.
was the third overall pick. So that's a
Right.
huge
That's
piece.
important piece. I'm not sure if what the Devontae Parker, Rob Gronkowski piece was it. Because I can see Jeremy's trying to rebuild. He's getting younger. He's getting more draft capital. Makes sense. Zach again is getting a wide receiver one, so he's building his roster. So I see it as a very even trade. I just thought it was interesting getting the Gronkowski and Devontae Parker, who's a little bit older, tenured, and I don't know if they're throw-ins or whatnot, but I think it's a pretty balanced trade.
You got to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I would definitely pick. I would go with Jeremy's side, just because you're getting additional talent. Gronk actually put up decent numbers last year, so I mean he's probably in the top 12 tight ends to be honest. And Devontae Parker, I mean, that's just a throwaway, but yeah, I'd lean Jeremy.
Devontae Parker is unbelievable. He's on a fantastic organization. Okay. Anyways, moving on to the next one. Either Anthony or Jeremy can take this one.
Well, speaking of the Dolphins and Devontae Parker, I mean Tyler in this next trade, he got Tua Tagovailoa, hails from Hawaii
The
and
apple
very
of my
coveted by.
eye, I will point out.
Dude, that guy was my neighbor, kind of practically. He wasn't my neighbor. Um, but I mean, Tyler very much coveted him. Obviously, Saquon was a big one, out of this. But Brandon did get, a first rounder in all this, which he really wanted.
Second overall pick.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's the
yeah,
one
sorry,
too.
yeah, sorry. Second overall pick, so very important to point that out. So that was huge. I actually viewed this to be somewhat of a. I don't know if I could say if it's an even trade because he did give away Tua to potentially maybe draft another QB. Could be maybe a better pick than Tua. But there are a lot of risks taken here. I'm gonna say though, just in general, I think I'm gonna say that Tyler won this trade. I think it really shored up his RB core getting kind of Saquon. If he doesn't hold on to him, a lot of trade value there. He gets Tua, who he loves. And I think he's due for a big year. But I think that's kind of where the risk was, right? Between for Brandon and Tyler C. Is Tua going to become that star that we think he is? If he ends up being a star, I think we'll look back at this and say Tyler absolutely smashed this deal. But as of right now, I'm more of that mindset that I think Tua is going to be a star. So on the surface, even right now, I'm going to say Tyler won this trade too.
Right. I mean, Miami's building so much and so many tools around Tua. Like he's getting everything possible. And Saquon, I think Brandon just didn't shop the market enough that, a lot of people had mentioned they would have gave like 2 first round picks for Saquon. I know the
Agreed.
102 is valuable. I get that. But if Brandon's going to rebuild by giving up his win now players, I think more first round picks, like you never
Yep.
know. Even these 102,
I agree.
103s, it's like a 50-50 chance. We were talking about how the wide receiver ones every year are never the top performers.
Yeah.
So I would rather have a better chance of hitting by getting more rather than just getting that 102 in itself.
Yeah, he did. He did get that Tyler's first pick in the second round. Yeah, which definitely helps. That's closer first rounder. But I think I think I would have given Brandon the edge here if he got a future first rounder from Tyler versus maybe that second round pick or maybe both. I don't know.
Yeah.
So agreed.
All right, I'll take this next one here. So this one was super recent. It's been crazy. There's just been a lot of trades happening. It's happened today, just like a couple hours ago. So Brandon acquires Jacob Eason and a second round pick and a first round pick in 2021. So Jeremy, what pick was this? Is this your six? This is your 106.
Correct.
Yeah, this is your 106. Um, and he sends away DK Metcalf. So Jeremy acquires DK Metcalf, pays the price for it. The sixth overall pick, a second round pick this year, and Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason is worth 0. I tried to put him in the trade calculator, and it
I
didn't
am
actually
offended
show who
by
he
that.
was.
He comes from
Who's
here,
Jacob
Lake
Eason?
Stevens. Late Jacob Eason.
He's an absolute afterthought. Like I said, he wasn't even in the trade calculator, so a bit of a disappointment there. So almost completely worthless. So essentially, it's basically just a second round and a first round for DK. I feel this is an interesting one in the sense because I feel like you have to put in the context the other trade that Jeremy also did, which we'll talk about. But Jeremy essentially moves DeAndre Hopkins and immediately restocks by picking up DK Metcalf. So DeAndre Hopkins is 28. He's basically in his absolute prime. And then DK obviously had a huge year last year. I'm pretty sure he's rated above DeAndre Hopkins on the dynasty rankings and all this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Similar production, but he's like 6 years younger. So you kind of have to take that context into the fact of this trade as well. I think Jeremy wins this trade. I do think that sixth pick is going to be valuable. That's going to be Brandon's chance to either get an additional court because he's already got another. Does he not have another pick? He has a second pick, so he's got the second pick and the sixth pick. So this gives Brandon a chance to get younger. I just kind of felt like he should be getting more for DK, kind of similar to what you were talking about with like Saquon. DK is probably one of like the top 10 assets in all of fantasy, not to mention that, or at least dynasty, not to mention that he plays for the Seahawks. So there's a handful of people who should have kind of irrational levels of love and affection for one of the Seahawks, being the fact that so many of us are in Seattle. And I would think Brandon would be one of those people. So I'm really surprised that after all that hype saying that the price was going to be high, I don't feel like it was high enough. So I'm going to give this one to Jeremy. Next one.
I'll take the next one since I know some relevance about these guys. It wasn't too, it's not that big of a deal. Mike Boone was the third running back for Minnesota. He was behind Madison, didn't really perform that much. So, but he did go to the Broncos, and he is second in line on the depth chart behind Melvin Gordon. So he could add some value within an injury. I don't think he's going to have that big of a role. But Mecole Hardman going to Kansas City, I mean, he's probably third, maybe fourth on depth chart if we're talking to Travis Kelce as well. But with Sammy Watkins leaving the picture, he actually might have a chance to put up some points. And Sam definitely has some wide receiver needs. But if I had to base it, I think Mecole Hardman will have a better year than Mike Boone. So I'm going to give it to Sam.
I don't understand this one at all. I feel like I have to jump in here. This is kind of one of those minor trades. It's not one of the blockbusters, and we've been talking all about blockbusters, but I truly have to be honest. I did not know who Mike Boone was. And Mecole Hardman, like exactly to Anthony's point, he's got increased opportunity. I believe he's entering his third year now, and he's one of those types of players, kind of like Tyreek Hill, who's also on the Chiefs, obviously, where it's like this is one of those home run hitters. Like he's probably not going to have a huge game. He's not going to have like 5 or 6 receptions, possession receiver, but he absolutely could have one of those 90-yard touchdowns where he's just an absolute bomb from Mahomes. And so in my mind, Sam got Mike Boone, who's basically an afterthought, and he just gives away kind of a lottery ticket in Hardman. I don't understand it. I think Johan wins this one. It's not a huge blockbuster, but I think Johan definitely wins. All right, next trade.
Oh, I had that mixed around. Yeah. I thought whoever got Mecole Hardman was the winner. Yeah, I completely mixed that around.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mecole Hardman is the winner inside there. I think Mike Boone, if he was still in Minnesota, I think that would have been a little bit more valuable, just because you've got some of the injury issues there with Dalvin Cook. But even then, I think Mike Boone would still be second. Uh, he would still be second on the or third on the depth chart actually
Yeah,
over there.
he's behind Alexander Madison. So
Yep,
I don't
exactly.
think he saw much.
Yeah.
2 trades left.
Man, this next one, Tyler. I mean, you got to call this even, right? I mean, I know we said we weren't going to do that, but I mean, these were literally both handcuff trades. I guess if I was going to pick who's going to be better, I think the Giants, I think will be better. This year Saquon's got a little bit of an injury history. He worries me. He worries me. He's had 2 years where he's gotten hit by the injury bug. So in that sense, Wayne Gallman's actually a little bit more valuable to me because he actually's played and he actually had a good game last year. So if I'm going to do it very slightest of edge, I'll give it to Tyler for picking up Wayne Gallman. The fact that he also got Saquon earlier, so I think he's the more valuable handcuff basically.
So I think I would like to also point out. I know we're not talking about our own trades here, but that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Oh
Rule breaker.
God!
I have
Oh
Saquon,
gosh!
Rule breaker.
and
Can
I'm
we
getting
mute this
Gallman.
guy? Mute this guy. Mute
Zach
this
also
guy.
has Melvin Gordon, so Melvin Gordon is getting one of the handcuffs. So we're helping each other out. We're giving each other the handcuff that each of us needs. So I just found that interesting.
Well, aren't you guys adorable?
So
Oh
super
my
Give
adorable.
each other
gosh!
daisies.
Kumbaya, whatever. Okay.
Handcuffed to Zach. Okay, next trade. Anthony, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I thought this was another blockbuster trade. I thought it was pretty good. Jeremy sent away another top 10 wide receiver, DeAndre
Whew.
Hopkins, and 2022 second round pick, but he picked up a first round pick and a second round, right? Laviska Shenault, we'll see. I mean, he was hyped up extremely last year, coming off his rookie year. He didn't put up what it was expected of him. He was kind of like that. I'm not quite a sleeper, but kind of near it. Like they thought he'd be one of the best performing rookie wide receivers. But he's got a great QB going there, so there's a lot of potential in that. And for Jeremy to go young and acquire more, like again, like if you're going to win now, I'm gonna give it to Sam because DeAndre Hopkins is a huge asset. But if you're looking to win the future, I'm definitely giving it to Jeremy. So I know, depending on what you're looking at, I think they're both
Context.
both
Context
winners.
matters.
The context
Context
Both
matters.
matters.
winners.
I
Yep.
think, we mentioned, previously that Jeremy was able to literally turn around. In fact, like I checked because it said a trade has been completed or whatever, or a trade is now pending. I'm like, oh, let me see what it is. And then it was like a different trade was, and I'm like, what is going on? Jeremy, did
Yeah.
you literally accept both of these trades within like 15 seconds of each other or something?
Absolutely. I
I
definitely
thought for the
did.
first time we were going to see a triple trade like amongst each other, and I got really excited real quick. But then I was like, oh, it's two separate ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, this is definitely kind of the closest I was going to get to doing like a, three-team trade, but obviously I didn't want I needed assurance. I've coveted DK Metcalf. He's younger. He kind of fits my window better. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I know he's great, but bigger picture, he wasn't going to help me out. But I was also because I've had a lot of big targets in this draft that I really, really want. So having two first rounders kind of in the top six is kind of what I'm targeting, was really important to me. So I don't know if I would have made the DK Metcalf trade, to be honest, if I knew I couldn't get a second rounder back, because I had to give that up, and you have to give at least a first rounder for DK, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah. So this worked out. I was actually very happy with it. It was for me, it was either do both trades or I wasn't going to do either of it, right?
Hmm.
So, and I was okay. I was at peace too if I wasn't gonna do both, because then I would have had the 3 and the 6 in the first round. I would have kept Hopkins, which would have been fine, and he would have had some trade value down the road if I wasn't gonna be competitive. So, but I was able to pull both of them off, and yeah, so it worked out. I was happy with it.
I'm excited about these deals. I think it's really great to have this level of activity. Like I said, we've had 8 trades in the last like 3 or 4 weeks or something, and like 5 of them in the last like 3 or 4 days. So that's been really really exciting to see. I think that's just awesome for the prospects of the league going forward. Jeremy, I gotta say, awesome move. I gotta know. I gotta ask you the question: who hit the buttons? So who sent the trades? Did you hit accept back to back, or did like Sam hit accept and then you immediately went to the trade that was already in your inbox? Who hit the buttons on the accept? I need to know.
So I had an outgoing trade, and an incoming trade. So I had one coming in from Brandon, and
Hmm.
then I had one going out to Sam. So the moment that I knew Sam was cool with accepting our trade, that's when I knew I could move forward with Brandon's.
So Sam hit accept, and then you immediately hit accept on the one that was in your inbox.
Absolutely, like I said, and if it was a reject, then I would have rejected Brandon's one. So for me, it
Hmm.
was really all or nothing there. But at the same time, I knew that I was going to be on the clock, or I was afraid I was going to be on the clock,
Hmm.
and everything. I didn't know, and I don't know. I don't know if they were talking with other folks or if they had other things. I just knew that, in the moment, I was like, I'm ready to do this, and I didn't want to psych myself out. So the moment
Hmm.
that everything came through, I was like, yes, absolutely, let's do it.
So
And I
exact.
gave it I
Mhm.
gave it a lot of thought. I gave it a lot of thought. So.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly what I mentioned with Anthony's big trade, where he acquires Mahomes, and he's kind of in this win now mode, where he's kind of supposedly potentially mortgaging a little bit of the future to be able to solidify his position now. I feel like, well, for Anthony, of course, I don't feel like he had to do that because Johnny was willing to just give these assets away for a lower price. But I kind of feel like this is a more clear example of what that is. Sam feels like he has a window to win right now, and so he's getting one of the top wide receivers. I think DeAndre Hopkins is around like number 6 or number 7, with
7.
a lot more potential even because Arizona's really loaded up this year.
Yep.
So Sam really, really feels like this is an upgrade that he needs to make where he could actually compete for the championship. And so he is, like we said, mortgaging a little bit of the future. to go for it. But I love seeing a deal like this because it just kind of shows that people understand things like their windows and they have different priorities. And then kudos to Jeremy for, like I said, you trade away Hopkins, but you immediately restock with Metcalf as well. So that's just, you're like the Miami Dolphins
Whew.
with the third overall pick from Houston, and then you trade down, and then
God,
you
the
trade right
Miami
back.
Dolphins.
Oh, it's just so glorious. So I'm giving Jeremy the Miami Dolphins award for today. But yeah, very exciting times. So we're pretty long on this podcast here, guys. But any final or parting thoughts you want to leave our audience?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking trade, so I'm just going to leave on the note. There is a counter button, just so y'all know. And I think you gentlemen here, business school and negotiations, you're always going to start at one extreme, right? And then you're going to offer that deal. And I know it's going to be crazy and it's not going to look good, but you got to meet in the middle. Press that counter button, guys. Put up what your thoughts are, put up what you're willing to trade. And we'll meet in the middle, come happy with both ends. That's all I got to say.
Good plug, Anthony. Good plug. I mean, and also just for everyone out there, if you are trying to do trades, message each other in Sleeper, right? I know a lot of us are in Discord, or if we got text, we could do that. But there's a message function also in Sleeper that's also super helpful to kind of connect with people, in the league, talk with maybe some other owners that you don't necessarily like talk with, and it's kind of nice, right? Because you kind of keep your messages all in there, and you can also do your trades and everything in there. So if you don't want to do the counter thing and actually have an open dialogue, that's a good way to do that. So
And last thing that I would mention too, if you do prefer to be outside of the app and communicating in text or whatever, if anyone needs anyone's phone numbers, I've got everyone's numbers as well. So if you want to reach out to me, I can also help make that happen. All right. Well, like I said, we're super long on this podcast. Thanks for everyone who's listening to this all the way through here, and huge thanks to Anthony and Jeremy, and also Johan and Christian for their indirect participation. I think this was an awesome episode, and we will look forward to having someone else join us in the next episode, hopefully next week. So, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
all right, boys.